So may I begin? We have prepared a brief introduction of yours.
Sure. You want to have it recorded also, or are you going to record it later?
Sir, whatever pleases you. I mean, I can say it right now also, I can record it later.
Whatever is convenient. I'm just trying to, one second.
Sure.
To maximize this window. Sorry. Yes. Good to go whenever you are.
So let's start. So from wielding an LLM from New York University and National University of Singapore to earning membership in the esteemed Supreme Court Bar Association, your journey knows no limits, transcending borders and legal excellence. Beyond advocacy, you are a dynamic personality, igniting platforms with your voice and opinions. So from where we got to know you and your opinions, your ideas, unlocking the door to career shaping, an interview with you is something which we had just dreamt of initially, and now you're doing it, and we really feel proud of it, sir. Thank you so much for coming on this platform.
Thank you so much for having me.
So to start with, I am a final year student, sir. I would be joining my 5th year right now in NMM School of Law, Mumbai. So like me, there are thousands of students in different law schools in our country having various doubts and complications. So most of them are solved through your posts on LinkedIn, Twitter, and your videos on YouTube. But some of them are still there, which I want to ask in this interview. So to start with, the first and the most interesting question which I think I have is that will the legal industry also be like one like the engineering or medicine, in which a lot of students will come in, take admissions, seats will increase, private colleges, etc., etc.
I think it's a good question, but I think we've already crossed that bridge. Law may not be still at par with, let's say, perhaps an engineering or MBA degree, but definitely it has become one of the go-to choices, if I can say so, in the last 10-15 years, because the whole branding and the concept of law school that has been packaged and delivered to the students has culminated into two aspects. First, a quality legal education to many. Second, also a dream of a corporate job, unlike a litigation career, which can provide you with a good pay package, as we call it, a certain hierarchy that will help you grow in the profession, become a partner, senior partner, equity partner later in the day. So those things have happened, but at the same time, we also have to realize, like in every other industry, legal industry also works on the market dynamics, the economics of what is out there in the market. The whole dynamics of job and supply is still the same. So I always repeat myself through multiple platforms that in the absence of any data as to how many jobs are available and how many graduates are vouching for those jobs is a very important thing. When I started my law school journey, the concept of law school in India was very new. At my time, there was an intake of 80 students, both in national law school and private law schools. Yes, this I'm telling you of 2002 when I entered into law school, and 7 is when I graduated. But now I'm told, and my interactions with many young students, graduates, my own interns, they tell me that an average, intake of any law school today, including the national law schools, and some of the top private law schools, is anywhere between 100 to 200 students per batch.
Minimum, sir.
Now, minimum. Many, every state, I think almost in India has a national school. Every private school has multiple branches in other states. True. So, there is a lot of overlap now. In legal education, I don't know whether I can still call it quality legal education, but in legal education, there's a lot of overlap. So I think the student community, needs to bring together, raise a common voice, not against the system as such, but to see that the future of people who are wanting to be lawyers. See, because you become lawyer to uphold the fight for justice for others. Now, if a law student themselves are, in the path of no job security, an injustice in getting a job, an injustice in getting internships, an injustice in getting an interview, then how will you fight others' fight? That becomes a question. We are a very different industry in terms of that. So to answer your question, succinctly, I would say that the student across the country needs to come together, utilize the data that is out there in the domain, see how better we can, strengthen the different verticals of our legal industry, because it has a lot to offer. It's not that, there are no jobs or, not many more jobs can be created. Everywhere you look in the country today, and the new challenges that we are facing in the legal arena will always create jobs. But then, I think some serious approach needs to be taken for that.
So just to add on to the question which I asked right now, so recently we had this opening of NLU in Manipur, and
Right.
then we also had one in Sonipat, and then we also came across the fact that they started their admissions but they never had a campus. Then the whole Supreme Court had to intervene and alter the situation of the students there. So in this regards, what are your views? Are we not prepared to open these national institutes or universities, or what is wrong what is wrong here?
See, I'll answer your question in two tranches. The first one is whenever any new campus opens,
Yes, sir.
especially under the mentorship of a state government, where the High Court is also involved, because normally the Chief Justice and few other senior judges are
Vice
the patrons.
Chancellor.
So what happens is a state has to identify a suitable land for these education institutions, because these education institutions are going to be the hallmark of future leaders in the country, especially if you are giving them good legal education. And it's the same case with every law school which is opened in the country. I remember when National School Bangalore, the first law school of the country, opened in '88. They also started out of a very small campus, and gradually, the place shifted to where it is now. And it is the story with every law school. It is not any different. As a matter of fact, you just named NLU Sonipat.
Yes, sir.
I think last year or this year I was invited to a seminar there to interact with the students, and they have a wonderful campus. In fact, the other private law school is OP Jindal Law School, where I was invited again this year for a lecture. So I've gone to both these Sonipat law schools, one a private one and one a national school one. And both of them have great campuses. And maybe when it started, NLU Sonipat, you are saying they might not have had the infra, but I had the privilege to have an in-person meeting with the VC there. I think the Dean Madam who is heading the chairmanship in NLU Sonipat. And a good campus. Students are very hands-on. And every education institution, will have these teething problems, but I think that's only a matter of few years. Because similarly, when I was invited to NLU Jabalpur last year, they are running out of a campus of an old MTNL building. So that, so they require a campus, and the students have been, raising their voice in concern that, they should be given a bigger and a better campus in accordance with the other, national schools. So I think they must take up these issues, either whosoever is the concerned body, be it UGC, be it the Bar Council of India, be it the concerned courts, be it the concerned state government who is allotting the land for purpose of education. So perhaps a committee where students think that they are suffering, where their parents think that a better campus should be given to them in exchange of the heavy fees that is being levied, on the parents. Those things can be done, but you will see, and history is the biggest example of this, that every law school, and especially the national schools which have come up in the country, have done well. They have eventually built on a good campus. So I would not say that they are not doing anything. I would say yes, things take time to progress, because acquiring a land, giving a good campus, how the campus and infra has to be built takes few months and few years. Planning has to be done. There is a process. But yes, the initial batches, they have to really ride the tide, as we say, because the tide is really rough in the first few years when you're about there. And if in the first 5 years, and the first few batches to graduate, then you can't think that things are going to be very smooth, as opposed to a older law school which is already established.
Very true, sir. You would be the torchbearers of various committees, and the founding members of various committees in the first batch. Whenever you go into a law school, so you have to have that mindset before joining. True, sir. So moving on to this question and coming to one of the most critical ones for every law student right now, sir, in regards to choosing the career options. Now, this is something which the law students have in mind even before joining the law school. They look at the placement rate, they look at how people are getting placed in their college even before joining the first year. And then, sir, eventually in the fourth year, they realize that they might have missed certain competitions, missed certain opportunities, whether to into corporate, litigation. They think that litigation is underpaid. Corporate might give a lot of salary, but then they'll drain the whole energy out of your body and your mind. You won't have work-life balance. Sir, amongst all of these questions, what suggestions would you give to a third or a fourth year law student in order to choose on or decide upon a particular path?
It's a good question, but the answer may be a little long. Because, when you are studying in a 5-year law course, especially, and by the time you're in your third and fourth year, not only are you comparing yourself with your peers, you are comparing yourself with your seniors in a particular law school. Then your friends or your competitors who are in other law schools, how are they being placed in terms of internships, other co-curricular activities, or eventual placements of their seniors. So I always welcome healthy competition. There is nothing wrong with it. But
Yes,
as a
sir.
student, you please realize what type of life you're living. As a student, you are living a life of a minimalist, right?
True.
And that is something we forget the moment we enter into a commercial world, so as to say, because if you want a pay package, unless you have taken a loan, or your parents have taken a loan for your education, which you need to repay, I am with you that you have to repay a loan. I'm not saying you have to live a bad pace of life or a bad quality of life, by living in penury. Nobody's encouraging that. But always remember and be grounded in your roots. If as a student, you were happy with the cooler in your room, you still had a laptop, you still had a mess where good food was given to you. Those are the basic minimum consideration for life. And anyone and everyone who's starting out their career, from day one, if you want to own a Mercedes or an Audi or let's say a Bugatti, whatever it may be, you are putting a wrong benchmark for yourself in a career. And this career, especially in law, is a career which progresses at least 15, 20 years after you have made a space for yourself in the profession. 5, 10 years either in a law firm or in a litigation doesn't count, because the first formative years go in building your mind makeup as to how the industry runs, how to deal with people, how to deal with clients, building your knowledge base, understanding different type of challenges which comes in a transactions. So many things are there. But if your core focus becomes, no, if my friend is driving a German car, I must drive a better German car than them, or I must drive a high luxury car. If they are going to a foreign location holiday, I must also go there. So I would say those things have no place in your legal career. Those are your personal ambitions.
Very true, sir.
And if your personal ambition tend to cloud your judgment relating to your career, you will never be happy. Speak to any lawyer who is even 20, 30 years wiser than me. They will tell you the same thing, that when they were young, they have slogged it out. My generation is slogging it out as we speak, and your generation needs to slog it out, because there is no shortcut to hard work. So my humble plea to all the young ones who are going to tune into your episode is this: be happy. Be happy in your own skin. I think that's the most important thing to do. The moment you start comparing, the first thing people are unhappy in law school is about their grades vis-a-vis to a comparative grade of a fellow friend who may then turn out to be your foe. So till the time you're always comparing in your life, you'll never be happy. Be happy in your own skin. Realize what your strengths are. Work on your strengths. Accordingly, do your internship. Just because your friend is doing an internship with the XYZ lawyer, you don't have to repeat that internship.
True.
Identify your area of interest. Today, India in 2023 and going forward, we are a country which has almost every branch of law in terms of practice.
Very true, sir.
In a lighter vein, I must also say, even though we do not have a data protection law, but the cyber crimes and the data breaches which are happening are still falling under the ambit of somewhere, under the rules which have been formulated of the IT Act or under the IPC. So, we are still moving ahead with times. There are things which are happening. So, identify. If you like arbitration, please do arbitration. If you like mediation, do mediation. If you like corporate, do corporate. If you like insurance, do insurance. If you like aviation, do aviation. There are so many things that you can cater your interest to. But please don't be miserable, in your own head. This is where the hardest battles are won and fought. So I would say, please don't compare yourself. Identify your areas of interest. Work on yourself, which is very important. If you think you as a orator, you as a person who needs to write, you as a person who needs to research, work on building a career which is going to span at least on an average 30, 40 years. In a human cycle. If you are in your early 20s, you are going to graduate by the time you're 23 or 24. And 24, you are neither going to become an equity partner, nor are you going to become a judge or a senior advocate. Please understand.
Very true, correct.
Once you have proven your mettle for at least 15, 20 years in the industry, people will start recognizing you and recommending you to others more effectively. And then once you have your peak in your 40s or 50s, whatever it may be, and with God's grace, let's say most of you live to see 70, 80, 90 years of age, with the advancement in, biological sciences, etc. So you are looking at a career of at least 50 years. So don't be in a rush. 5 years of law school is only, putting a ground for you for the next 50 years. And in 50 years, it's going to evolve. Human civilization is going to evolve. We are going to face more challenges from AI, etc. So I think the younger generation is always in a rush to make things happen. Please don't be in a rush. You don't have to be an instant influencer. You don't have to be a person who is wanting a 2-minute fame. In law, these things unfortunately don't happen. You may have a viral reel once in a while or a viral post once in a while, but that's not going to make you a lawyer, worth your salt if you're just dependent on that one click of a button. A lawyer is an amalgamation of lot many factors. Please don't forget that.
Sir, this was something which all of us understood but never heard from a person who is experienced. All of us think that becoming a content creator, going digital, doing some side hustle or freelancing would eventually help us, but in turn it also damages the academics which we have, because we try to balance both of it and eventually both of them go into a disbalance. And sir, I believe every interview which I've taken, the one thing which has been constant is patience. Whenever you are in this field of law, be patient and you need to wait, or else you would, I mean, even if you rush, you won't reach anywhere, is what I've heard from everyone. Sir, taking cue from what you said about litigation, one very crucial question which everyone has in mind before starting is that will we get paid? How will we sustain? How will those 5-7 years go? Sir, in your times, the fees would be less in comparison to what is ours right now. We pay 10 lakhs, 15 lakhs, I mean, in terms of these 5 years, and then we graduate. Besides that, we have our living expenses, we relocate to different cities, everything, I mean, accumulated. Sir, from our perspective, corporate job seems like a payback. For example, the sooner we earn, the better it is, we'll give it back to the family. But out of 7, 5 of them want to go into litigation. Because all of us have dreamt of arguing in court in front of a judge, dreamt of fighting for rights for the people. But then this whole scenario of not getting paid, I mean, brings us, I mean, a scare in our lives that we are not able to opt it. Sir, in this circumstance, what are your views? You being experienced in litigation for more than a decade now.
Right, look, very good question. Let me answer it step by step.
Yes, sir.
Again, and I'm not saying that people don't have to pay bills. Everybody has to pay bills. If your parents are funding your education, they are paying taxes, they are paying bills on your behalf.
True.
But I think one topic which I think across the board is not taught anywhere, either my experience with foreign law schools or Indian law schools, is about economics or the business of law. Now, it's about comparing apples and oranges. You are getting taught almost every subject as to how to read into law, but nobody is teaching about the practice of law.
Very true.
Then how does the business of law operate? You choose a law firm because you have bills to pay. But do you know how a law firm works? Do you know how they generate billings? Do you know what type of outstanding do they have from their clients? How do they do their PR and networking? What type of BD budget they have? BD as in business development. All those things at some level have to be taught to a law student to make them, ready for a future or a career ready, as I say. Now, litigation, the problem is this. Again, in the absence of data, based out of my experience with my peers, my colleagues, my seniors in this, you have to realize that an independent lawyer or an individual lawyer has very different type of practice. Some people may be doing service law, some may be doing civil litigation, some may be doing intellectual property, some may be doing criminal law, etc. Now the thing is, an independent lawyer is dependent on the fees generated from their clients. Now, if an independent lawyer only has an individual clientele and no MNCs backing them up, the fee is going to be very limited. For example, today when you are studying in a college is an institution, right? You go to that institution because that institution has done a type of branding for itself.
True.
Similarly, a law school or a law student decides to go for a firm because there is a branding of that firm which has been in subsistence for the past 30, 40 odd years. In my time, I've heard of these firms. These firms have only grown to grow stronger. So there is a brand. They have big clients. But an individual lawyer, by and large, don't have that big clients. Sometimes as litigators, including myself, when we go to court, sometimes we are intellectual daily wages. We don't know where the next client is going to come from. Now, this is taught in law school. If the senior that you're associated with, has limited revenue generation, he has to look at his budget. He has an office to run. He has a staff to pay salary to. He has his own expenses. And out of that expenses, if he can save something, he is definitely going to pay an associate. But let's say if the revenue generated is not at par, that person himself is struggling in the practice, be it in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. And the best example to give you is the pandemic that we just faced. In 2 years, many lawyers, including the young lawyers and the older lawyers, some of them had to shut shops because the clients would not come. We have to know how the market dynamics work.
True.
If today people who are your prospective clients or the existing clients are taken out of their jobs, if they are handed pink slips, they don't have money. How will they pay a lawyer's fee? And if the lawyer does not generate the income from a client, how is he going to pay an intern or an associate?
Very true, sir.
So these things are not taught in law school. The dynamics of business of litigation. Not every lawyer is a senior advocate, and not every senior advocate is a successful senior advocate.
Very true, sir.
Please understand. There are categories of success in the profession. How to make money, how to do BD and PR, how to do networking is very important. And not everybody can network. Not everybody is an extrovert. Not everybody has that band balance to network.
True.
I'm not saying that litigators are at fault or law students are at fault. But once, let's say, we have an institution like a law school, then I think the law school becomes that medium. The bar councils become that medium to collaborate and educate both the young lawyers who have entered the profession and the lawyers who are studying in law schools to how to bridge this gap. For example, recently, the Bar Council of India has opened gates for foreign law firms. I think it's a great initiative. Why? Because it is going to generate more income for foreign firms and Indian lawyers. Now on this aspect, seminars needs to be created in terms of awareness by the Indian law schools. Why are they sleeping?
Absolutely, sir. But in my example, very true.
You all need to come together, but because there is so much of competition in the country, nobody wants to collaborate. But at least collaborate with the state bar councils, collaborate with the judges, and ask people to do a webinar. Webinar is almost free, right? You only need an internet connection. I'm doing a webinar right
Absolutely.
now. You don't have to pay for my travel to come to Bombay and give a lecture.
True.
Because post-pandemic, even academic institutions have taken a hit. But my request to every law school and students and young lawyers and even the stakeholders in the system is this: please make students aware about the business of law, besides being a noble profession, because that is something nobody speaks about. And the moment you enter the market, you are like a deer before the headlight. You don't know which way to run. So till the time you are not educated properly on these directions, because as a lawyer, we don't think about it, but we are also MBA graduates. We have to think how the market works. If tomorrow you want to be a corporate firm lawyer, but you don't understand how a company works, you don't understand how the commerce in the world works, how international trade works, how billing is done, what is a demand draft, what is a bank guarantee, all those things, So till that time you do not understand the business dynamics, how are you going to help businesses? And how are you going to help your own business in making profit?
True, sir. The first step before arguing the case is to bring the case to your office. And if we do not know the first step itself, how would we even argue the case eventually? Very true. Sir, in continuation to what you answered, sir, now that we know that as law students we need to have certain qualities of an MBA graduate or we need to know some finance. Sir, until and unless law schools are not catering to it, what ways would you suggest for us to do it? Are there any certificate courses or do we do some diploma? What do we do besides, if the law schools do not cater to that need?
See, you are in Narsi Monji, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, Narsi Monji is primarily known for his business degree.
Business, true, sir.
Now, when I went to NYU has a business school called NYU Stern. So sometimes NYU Stern and NYU Law would also offer a joint degree or a certificate course. I would encourage you to go to your, Narsi Monji management people,
yes,
students, learning BB or MBA. Try to come up with a certificate course. There are executive programs, there are certificate courses, there are student exchange programs. You are in the same campus. I'm assuming you are in the same campus.
Yes, sir, we are. Yes, sir.
So do those things. I don't think it's a rocket science. Problem is the moment we enter to a law school, many a times in lighter, I must say this, we think we are gift from God and we are the smartest people on this planet. That's not how it works.
Indeed, sir. Indeed.
You have to have a knowledge sharing platform and a knowledge sharing program with others, so that there is law is a interdisciplinary approach mechanism. That's how law works. You go to a court, a client will come to you who may be a big business person. He may be a person who may be heading an enterprise. He may be a person who may be running a kirana shop, but knowing more business than you. So as a law student, till the time you do not know, again, the dynamics of the world. And while you are in a college, while you are in a university, you have more avenues and opportunities to,
Explore.
come together.
True.
So you need to collaborate. That's what I always encourage people, young lawyers, young minds, collaborate with others. You have these fests, in your universities where you invite singers and, Bollywood
yes,
stars
sir.
and all not. Now, it's a common ground. Everybody enjoys music. Everybody enjoys a good debate. Everybody enjoys a good discussion. Everybody enjoys a good movie. But you have to find the role of a lawyer in all these things. That is when you are going to make it interesting for others.
So I wish this was taught in our colleges. Trust me. Hearing this from you has opened my mind into different avenues as to how can we find opportunities in different places, because law and the legal field is everywhere. It is upon you how you discover it in different scenarios. True, sir. So moving on to a more crucial topic when it comes to a law student's career, the one word, internship. Sir, initially internships were not as much as a fad as it is right now. Internships right now are like a wave. If you get on, it's good. If you do not, you will drown. At least they have made it up like this, if it isn't the reality. Sir, if I were to ask you, being an advocate for Delhi High Court, Supreme Court, sir, what is a proper procedure to apply? How, as I said, we do not have clarity in this. We feel that one follow-up mail should be after 7 days. Then after 7 days you call, sir, but amidst these 14 days the internship only goes away. So then what would you suggest as a proper procedure for any law student to apply to any firm or a chamber?
Right, look, let me give you two perspectives of how internships have grown in India.
Yes,
now,
sir.
I entered law school in the early 2000s when the whole concept of 5-year law school was still, coming to the Indian landscape. In my time, when I went for internship, there was no compulsory internship even in my law school tenure till the time I was in my 10th semester. So only 10th semester had a compulsory internship. So even then, most of the lawyers under whom I interned on the firms that I went to were very surprised that, why are you doing internship? And we had not heard of this concept when we were in law school. Because back in the days when they were graduating, there was a 3-year law college program which still subsists in our country. Now to come to your question, because now there is a wave. Everybody wants to, jump into that wave. There is nothing wrong because, look, there is a competitive market. Quality legal education is being promised almost by every premier law school in the country. So they have to make sure that the candidates which graduate out of a particular brand or an institution, if I may say so, have to be of a particular quality which can be absorbed by the top-notch people in the industry. And for those top-notch people to gauge or assess your performance, the first sign is an internship. So I would always say that you have to decide your internships on a year-to-year basis. When you're in the first year, you cannot directly jump to a, let's say, a firm or even a litigation. But things are changing. In my office, for example, I have students who have had interned with me in their first semester, people who have interned regularly with me in their last year, people who have gotten absorbed, so on and so forth. Now, there is no straitjacket formula to this. But because in your first year, there is not too many of law courses.
Yes.
I would say a non-legal internship would not harm you. You can join an NGO, you can join an international organization, you can join other businesses to understand the dynamics of how law works, from an outsider's perspective. Then once you have done these internships in the first or second year, you can mix and match your serious legal internship from third year onwards, be it with judges, be it with lawyers, be it with law firms, be it with policy, think tanks, etc. So that will start telling you how people who are living and breathing law, on a daily basis are looking at a legal structure, the legal market, etc. So I would say make a flowchart, make a plan, because most of the, popular internships are, unfortunately already booked 6 months in advance, or at least a year in advance. You can't do anything about it. You have to just cross your fingers, keep applying. For example, even in my office, 6 to 8 months are already blocked for internships. And it's very difficult to say no to people. Because I know a student has applied with even 6 months or 8 months in advance, limited slots are there and they get filled. The same problem exists with most of the firms because firms are also very sought after. So if a student is applying, they can only, let's say, take 15 or 20 students a batch. So things are becoming tough because more and more students have come to the market. More and more students are now studying law, but the seats are very limited. So I would say don't only eye for top tier law firm or a top tier lawyer. Just within your own local area, local city where you live, try to find good people under whom you can intern and learn. People forget that aspect because learning can come from any quarter. It's not that you will only come to the chambers of Jayant Bhatt and you can learn the best law in the country. No, I'm so sorry. That's not how it works. There are equally great lawyers out there. Perhaps who you may not know about, but in your city, if you go to your trial court, let's say, and say, sir, who are the top 5 lawyers, top 10 lawyers? People will tell you their names and say, this lawyer is worth their repute. Please go and have a word with them. So I always encourage students that in case you don't succeed to get an internship with a particular organization, don't be dismal with your approach. Whichever city you are living in your country must be having a district court. If it's a reasonably larger city, must be having a taluka court. Go there and learn something. Go and intern with a judge there. You will always learn something. There are avenues, but we have only restricted our avenues like a horse with a blind. नहीं, मैं तो ये firm नहीं करूँगा, या तो मैं वकील के साथ ही करूँगा. So you are your biggest competitor by chucking yourself out of the competition. Till that time I do not get this, internship, मैं तो नहीं करूँगा.
The whole tier structure which we have.
That can't be an argument. No?
Very true, sir. Very true. Sir, one tag-along question with this. Sir, often there is a confusion between quantity and quality. Is it that we should do one internship for 6 months or 6 internships in those 6 months? Sir, what would your suggestion be? People think that it is better to explore 6 different avenues. You make 6 different connections there. But again, on the other half, people think that stay at one place and make a solid connection instead of leaving in just 21 days or 28 days.
See, I think the answer would be very simple and straightforward. A student who says that I will do a 6-month internship either has to be in a law school where the faculty is bad, or the infra is not there, and then they have the liberty to just go and have a 6-month internship because they will get attendance.
Very true.
But most of the law schools who are prim and proper, who have a curriculum, who have good faculty, who have great quality students, you would hardly get time to spare besides the lectures and other co-curricular activities, because the only month or two that you get off, you're off for internship
June and
anyway.
December, yes, sir.
So I would say don't burden yourself. A 6-month internship, 10-month internship, don't burn yourself out. And as I said, mingle with other people, mingle with people who are not lawyers. You have to broaden your horizons. You have to understand how the world is acting. Because once you graduate, this 6-month internship, 10-month internship will become a lifelong internship. You as a lawyer are sleeping, drinking, law only.
Very true.
So don't burn yourself out in these 5 years of law school.
Exactly.
Enjoy the pace. Enjoy the pace. That's what I keep telling students. And if you get afraid that your friend is doing 14 internship and I'm doing 10 internship, तो वही बात हो गई कि my friend is driving a Merc, why am I not driving not? Be miserable in your own head, no? Then don't be miserable. Enjoy it. That's most important. Be reasonable with the internships. I'm not saying don't do, but don't overexert.
So this has to be the best way you put it into. Thank you so much for this. So now that I've already taken 30 minutes of your Monday morning, we are nearing the end of this interview. So the most trickiest question I believe which is there in the market right now. Sir, how does a law student, if there exists a perfect law student, become one? How do you balance publications? How do you balance competitions? How do you balance LinkedIn? How do you balance freelancing? Do you do these things or do you not? Sir, what would be your suggestion?
Again, don't be too hard on yourself. I think I keep telling this both to myself and to my audience repeatedly. Like, when I started my YouTube channel, just to put things in perspective, it was the second wave of pandemic in the country. We are all locked in our houses. I had some time. This idea came to me after doing 300, 400 odd webinars where I was invited regularly as a speaker. And I was asking myself that, all these people are inviting me, but why are they not inviting other people who are better than me? And this idea cropped in my head. I opened my channel. I started shooting emails to people, and they were kind enough. They came onto the platform. I had 70 odd interviews with these, other lawyers and people who were invited. And after that, I felt a burnout in myself because interviewing 70 odd people for more than an hour each as a video podcast, and this was including my court work and having a virtual internship running and other things which were on my plate. So as I say, I felt burnt out, but I knew I had to do this. So once that thing was done, I knew I had created a video archive for the future generation, and they will be benefited from it. So that social cause of mine was done with. When I write on LinkedIn, because that's the most regular platform I'm available on, I respect that platform, one, because it's very professional. It doesn't have a word limit like Twitter where you have to just tweet random things.
Concise your thoughts.
You have to really, structure your thoughts. You have an audience which is serious. You have an audience where there is mutual respect. So, and it's a very, very professional platform, and this is one platform I found my calling with. And, today, in fact, I got an email from them that you have completed 5 years on LinkedIn in June. So I'm like, okay, good to know. So, and how it happened was my associates who used to be my interns, they opened my profile on LinkedIn. Okay. Like, you're not available on social media, please come on social media. So they opened my profile, and then I think from 2019 I started writing, because before that I was, just using it as a platform just like everybody else. And it's been 4 years of writing almost on a daily basis, interacting with people, responding to them, and it's great fun and experience because I keep getting DMs from lawyers, law students, non-lawyers, business people. It's a great way to connect, great way to brainstorm with people. And what approach is mine, because I consider myself to be a student of law. Just because you enroll yourself as an advocate doesn't mean you cease to be a student of law. So what applies to me applies to a student who is studying in a 5-year or a 3-year law college, either in India or abroad. So my thing is, don't be hard on yourself. Know when your body is getting burnt out, and use your time wisely. For example, if you think writing is a passion, please write. There are social media platforms which are available in abundance today. If you think Instagram is a platform, Twitter is a platform, please use it. I'm not good at taking selfies or taking snaps and making Instagram my platform, because I think it's more of an entertainment purpose that people use Instagram. Twitter again has become a kickboxing platform where people like to just punch each other. Facebook I left not many years ago, and LinkedIn was the only sensible platform which appealed to me. So I think to each his own. You must realize where your passion lies, what you want to do. If you want to be a blogger, if you want to be a writer, if you want to be a video creator, please do those things. Because till the time you have not dabbled into your hobbies, and ventured into these particular places, you would not know what appeals to you. And don't think about likes or views. I mean, if they have to come, they will come.
They'll come naturally.
The simple thing is, before I started writing on a particular platform, I was not writing for likes. I was not writing for creating an audience. I knew that I had something valuable to contribute, and even if it could benefit one person, it was enough for me. So it doesn't really matter, But if you have an agenda that, look, till the time I do not garner 1 million followers, I'll be miserable in my life, then there can be no end to that misery.
Very true. This is the reflection which this is the true self of, to understand that if you are reaching those goals which you will never achieve in life, there's no logic of doing everything.
Yeah, let society not create a social relevance for you. Your social relevance is already there the moment you were born.
Very true, sir. With this, sir, I believe we've come to the end of this interview. We've asked all the questions, you've answered it very briefly. And sir, to be honest, you've answered it honestly. All of these things were something which we needed to hear. Even though they come with a pinch of salt, but all of this is very important in order to actually shape not a career, but a beautiful life in totality. So thank you so much for joining in, for catering to us, for coming on board for this interview. It means a lot. So anything which you want to say to our audience or to us, sir, the floor is yours.
First of all, thank you again for having me. I know, we have just, are evolving from the worst pandemic that the world has seen. But we are getting there. We are all collecting ourselves brick by brick, day by day, week by week. And I say, every day you have to get up, suit up, and show up. That is my approach. There will be days where you may be feeling, ecstatic. There will be days where you'll be feeling really low. But stick to a regime. I think that's important. If you're a early morning riser, please don't fiddle with the timetable. Do get up, do some exercise, whatever interest you, play some sport, read some good books, cultivate a hobby, because profession is something which will always run parallelly to your life, because you have to keep earning, side by side. You have to find your calling, you have to find your vocation. That is fine, but don't ignore your health, and when I say health, I mean emotional health, mental well-being, I mean physical health, because your body is your temple. You can't abuse your body. So to all the audience out there and through your channel, I would just humbly request them to be true to your own highest conviction. I think that is very important.
Absolutely, sir. Thank you so much for joining in, sir. Have a good day.
Thank you. You too.
Thank
Bye.
You,